Hey guys, M13 here, up in the mountains. It's not a new road, unfortunately. To get some new roads for you guys sometime soon, right? Topic. Got a couple of good topics. These ones I get requested a lot. I'm going to talk a bit about Taiwan and what it was like for me to move here, and the changes in Taiwan in the more than 10 years that I've been here. First things first. Let's talk about when I first got here. People ask me how did I have to adapt, and there is a lot of adapting that needs to be done because it's an altogether different world. I think one of the biggest problems when you first move here is one of the biggest problems for me when I first moved here. Keep this in the first person. Was food. Because you don't know what you can eat, you can't read the signs, you don't know what the restaurant sells, you don't know what's good, you don't know what's not. Like one time I was at a buffet, and I was just looking at things that looked okay and putting them on my plate. And then I sit down to eat, and I ended up putting some stinky tofu. There's a kind of tofu. Tofu in general I like, but there's a kind of tofu called stinky tofu, and to me, it quite literally smells well, I can't say taste because I've never tasted it, but it quite literally smells like fecal matter. It smells like a shit. Go take a shit in a toilet, stick your face in there, take a good whiff, times that by 10, and that's what stinky tofu is. And now some of you are thinking, oh, these silly Chinese people, how can they eat something that tastes like shit? Well, in answer to your question, cheese. A lot of cheese smells like your farts, right? There's certain farts that smell like cheese. Eggs. Sometimes you fart and it smells like eggs for some strange reason. Again, same thing, you know, like. So there's a lot of stinky cheeses that smell a lot like fecal matter as well, and we like cheese, so same thing can be said about us. And that's a funny thing too. That's what happens. They're like, how can you eat cheese? It's so smelly. And I'm like, well, how can you eat stinky tofu? And they're like, but stinky tofu is good. And I'm like, well, cheese is good. Just certain cheeses. In general, for the normal cheeses, they eat them quite a bit, more and more so. In general, Asians don't eat cheese. They're not big into cheese. But that's changed over the last, 15 years or so. Yeah, so what's the point of this? Oh yeah, so when I first moved here, adapting, food is a problem, and then your social life is it's it's over, or it gets entirely reinvented. And for me, that was a negative thing, because in Canada, in Winnipeg, I was somewhat popular in my city. I had a lot of friends. I was kind of considered a dancer, and I hung around with a lot of people who could dance. I didn't have a dance crew or anything like that. I didn't go and do dance battles or anything. Not that that's uncool. I'm just saying I didn't do it. But yeah, I was well known. I spent a lot of time going to the different dance clubs, and look at these people. Eh? You see that? Oh my God! Somebody's in the front right of this car has their foot up on the dash. Nice bare foot up on the dash. It's a child. That's nice. Teaching your kid good manners, man. Get in someone's car, take off your shoes, take off your socks, put your foot up on the dash. Yeah, so food. Is that what we're talking about? No, social life. Yeah, like anyways, when I left Canada, I was at the dance clubs, like 3-4 times a week. I come to Taiwan, I'm going once a week, and it was entirely different. Like in Canada, I would dance, and I would meet people. So I could go to a club where I didn't know anyone, and because I danced fairly well at the time, people were friendly, and people come up and talk to you, and you could start dancing with a group of strangers, and they just start, people are just more friendly in Canada as well, especially where I'm from. And then here, it was just, you go to the dance clubs and stuff, and you're a foreigner. You don't speak the language. Surprisingly enough, if you go to a dance club, young people generally do speak some English, and a lot of them speak a lot of English. So you get a lot of people make comments about, oh, I want to go to Taiwan, but I don't know any Chinese. It's like, well, first of all, like 99% of all foreigners who move to Taiwan can't speak any Chinese, but we still do it. I didn't speak a word of Chinese when I moved out here. You pick it up while you're here, and plenty of people here speak good English, so you don't. It's not all that important, regardless. Like there are foreigners that have lived in Taiwan for like 10 years, 20 years, and after 20 years of living here, still speak barely any Chinese. Like I know foreigners that have lived here for like 5 years, 6 years, and barely speak a word. They know hello, thank you, and like that's it. It's amazing because, like I said, it's not that big a deal. English is the international language of the world. It's the language of Earth. So you can pretty much, if you speak English, you can go to any country in the world. And I'm obviously exaggerating. You can go to most countries, and you'll find someone who speaks it. Like all of Europe, pretty much teaches English as a secondary language in the schools. Like even if you go to Russia or someplace where the Russians speak some amazingly good English. Some of them speak better English than I do. I've met so many Russians. A lot of Russian engineers come to Taiwan, and their English is amazing. And a lot of times what happens is people who study English know more about English than people who speak English because they've actually studied it. You follow me? Like we speak English because we're born speaking English, but they speak English because they've spent hours and hours and hours and hours studying it, and studying the intricacies of it, and studying the rules of it, and studying the grammar and all that. So a lot of times people who speak English as a second language understand the language better than we do. Even though they might not speak it as well as we do, they understand it better. They could probably correct your grammar, or if you wrote a story, they could correct some mistakes. And again, off topic. So my social life took a huge turn for the worse when I moved out here. But that's kind of what I needed, because I was doing drugs and sleeping around a lot in Canada. And then when I moved out to Taiwan, I just quit both. I stopped dating, not really by choice, and I stopped drugs. Again, not really by choice. I didn't know where to get it out here. But that's what I wanted. I wanted to quit cold turkey. So what better way to quit cold turkey than to move to another country you don't speak the language and don't know where to buy it? Why is there no motorcycles? That's like a resting area for like motorcycles and shit right there. And there's not a single motorcycle there. Like, it's depressing. Jeez. I saw, like, this morning when I went to go buy breakfast, I saw a bunch of motorcycles out and about. And I'm like, okay, I gotta go riding. I gotta go find some other bikes I can race with, and nothing.